welcome to the 4th European Repair Cafe Conference. Next event will be called the 5th International Conference, because we're increasingly getting delegates emerging from outside of Europe, from Canada, US, Australia, Thailand, Taiwan. So we're becoming very international. Before I pass over to Martin to open the session, we have an excellent group of very practical presentations from across the Repair Cafe world. Martin is going to open up with some sort of introductory points, in terms of the growth of the network, etc. I'll just mention a couple of other just recent learnings from an event we ran in the UK. Then we've got a presentation from Australia, followed by opportunities for questions, a video from New Zealand about activities in New Zealand. Then Martin is going to introduce the monitor in a bit more detail. Lena will then share some experience, followed by Martin and John from the UK. And then we'll finish up with some broader comments from Ugo and Peter. So without further ado, I'll pass across to Martin.
Thank you, Martin. Did you make me co-host, by the way, already?
Yes, you're co-host.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Great. Well, so thanks. And welcome to all the repairers and organizers and speakers who have joined our webinar today. And it's great to see so many of you from so many countries. I'm really amazed that we're 25 countries today. That's great. And I hope you will all enjoy today's program. Well, like Martin said, we're going to hear about Repair and Repair Cafe in Australia and Aotearoa, New Zealand, what's going on in that part of the world and what are specific challenges that they're facing there. And in the second hour, we're going to talk more about repair data collection. How can you do that? Why is it important? And what happens to the data that we all collect together? How is it being used? And first, I'll say a few words about developments in the International Repair Cafe network in the last half year. It's been a busy time. The network has been growing very fast indeed, as we can see on the next slide. So here's our world map of repair cafes. In January, this map showed almost 3,000 locations, but now we're at 3,188, so that's over 200 more. So the network is growing very fast, and we see a lot of enthusiasm for and interest in repairing, not only in our volunteer network, but also in society as a whole, including companies, schools, and other organizations. Next slide, please. And this is at least partly the result of right to repair legislation, which is now in place in the EU. The directive was officially adopted last April, and this directive forces product manufacturers to really think about repairability and adapt design and other processes. And it's no coincidence that in the last few months, we've been approached by several manufacturers to discuss repairability of their products and to identify ways to collaborate. And this is a new development. For earlier, it was always us reaching out to them, and now it's them reaching out to us. We notice that large companies want to see if they can work with repair cafes to meet certain demands when it comes to repairing their products. And from their side, that's a logical thought, because their own repair infrastructure has largely disappeared in the last decades, whereas the Repair Cafe network only keeps on growing and it gets denser every day. But well, of course, it's not the idea of right to repair legislation that companies shift their repair obligations to Repair Cafe volunteers, the idea is, of course, that they change their way and restore a good repair infrastructure themselves. Still, there may be ways for manufacturers and repair cafes to work together so that all parties involved, including the environment, will benefit. And we're currently investigating what these ways could be. And a first positive conclusion that we can draw from this development is that it proves that the Right to Repair directive works and is already changing the minds of manufacturers, because they realize that this is a new reality and they need to find solutions. And it's also good to see that in the Right to Repair directive, the text, that repair cafes are mentioned by name 3 times. This indicates that repair cafes are widely being recognized as one of the elements of the repair infrastructure. One of the initiatives that are just there and need to be taken into account. Apart from the Right to Repair developments, we also see a growing number of projects and campaigns to promote product reuse, repair, and maintenance. And here in the Netherlands, there are several projects being prepared at the same time, initiated from universities, from NGOs, from regional and national authorities. And Repair Cafe International is always asked to join in. So we definitely notice that momentum is building to make repair normal once more. Next slide, please. And we're, of course, very happy to see all this happening in the year of our 15th anniversary. For this shows that our work at Repair Cafe International, but also your work in the thousands of repair cafes around the world, that this work is not in vain, that we as a movement, we're actually contributing to a better world with less waste and more community engagement. Next slide, please.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, previous one, yeah. So I was talking about community engagement, and this is also reflected in the bunting flags that we're receiving at the office right now in Amsterdam these days. As you know, I've asked all repair cafes around the world to make a flag for our 15th anniversary in October, which we will celebrate with a Repair Cafe XL in the city of The Hague. We intend to have 100 repairers from repair cafes all over the Netherlands. And we're going to hang the joint bunting line from the ceiling to highlight the international character of our community. And we're really grateful for the piles of envelopes that are arriving in the mailbox every day. It's so wonderful. We've received more than 160 flags already, and new ones keep coming in from Europe, from the US, from Australia, from New Zealand. We've actually had a visitor, more than one visitor, at the office bringing us their flag in person. This is John Hillel from St. Kilda in Australia. He was visiting family in Amsterdam recently, and he dropped by to hand us their bunting flag in person. And it was very nice to meet him, and so special to realize that our network is truly worldwide, and that even on the other side of the globe, people are just as motivated for repair and for Repair Cafe. Now, this is a nice bridge to one of the next segments of this webinar. We're going to hear from Leanne Wiseman later on. She's from Australia, and from Brigitte Sistik from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Both of them are very much involved in the repair movements in their countries, and they will be on soon. But first we'll go back to Martin Charter for a bit for some further opening statements from his side. Back to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Martine. Just a couple of quick comments to really build on what Martine was saying. You know, it's a sort of critical moment, really, particularly in a European context, in that, as Martin mentioned, the right to repair regulations were proposed last March, but became law in May this year. And so that's very significant globally. So the Repair Directive, also known as the Right to Repair Directive, is legislation now that's going to make it easier for consumers to seek repair instead of replacement of products, but also to seek out repair services, which I think we may claim, Martin, in an earlier workshop when we had DG Justice or a webinar attend, at that stage, they didn't really know much about repair cafes. So maybe as a result of attending our webinar, repair cafes worked their way into the legislation. So there's really this more opportunity from the consumer side, and this is quite significant. You're seeing a raft of legislation happening in Brussels, but generally it's been much more targeted at the producer side. But this legislation is giving more tools and incentives to consumers to seek, repair solutions, and actually then to put pressure on manufacturers to make products technically repairable. In addition, a European online platform is going to be built to allow consumers to find repair services. And I guess we hope that repair cafes will also be added to that database, because they're very legitimate, services, but also extending the legal guarantee to 12 months for consumers to seek repair over replacement. The practical reality now is that member states throughout Europe have 24 months to implement this legislation. So at a national level throughout Europe, or within countries within the European Union, there'll be national organizations starting to look at how they implement this. How organizations, on the call, like the UK and Switzerland and Norway, that are sadly, at least from my perspective, are sitting outside of the moment implement this is unclear. Our present government in the UK has been stalling. Maybe now we have a new government, we may see some change. So I'll just make a couple of other quick comments before we pass across to Leanne for the Australian perspective. And we recently held our third UK Repair Cafe conference with about 70 attendees. And I just highlight 5 key learnings that emerged from that event. In addition to the issues around data and information that we're going to talk to today, sort of 5 key issues that emerged. This is not, the issues, but 5 of the key issues that I've identified. These are learnings or reinforcement, so we won't be surprised to hear some of these. There is a lack of a universal standard for measuring repair activity. So, we at Farnham Repair Cafe have 4 levels of activity that we measure. Within the repair monitor, there are 3 levels of activity. Others have other different ways to measure their repair activity. It sounds odd to say, but it is worth repeating. Each repair cafe is different, but there are a set of universal principles that repair cafes adhere to. There seems to be a growing, various repair cafes are now experimenting with online booking versus pure drop-in. Some are offering hybrid services. Data recording is primarily on paper, but we've noted that some repair cafes are now starting to use electronic systems. And I think an issue that particularly came up in the end of the conversations was in terms of measuring impact, looking at the number of repairs, maybe landfill diversion or carbon emission reduction is obviously important, but also the social value of repair cafes. So how we measure the social impact is a new and emerging issue. So I'll stop talking now, and I'll maybe pass straight across to Leanne. Martin, unless you have any other comments to make.
No, let's go to Leanne.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Martin and Martine, for the opportunity to speak at your event this evening. The Australian Repair Cafe movement. Next slide, Martin, please. Just to provide a little bit of context, our size here in Australia does represent a bit of a challenge for our over 110 repair cafes, particularly those in our rural and remote regions. If you have a look at the East Coast, where I am based, it's a 6-hour flight across the country to Perth on the other side of Australia. So it does, most of our repair cafes are scattered around the coastal areas. And in terms of where we are in the right to repair movement in the world, we had a very major inquiry in 2021 with our Productivity Commission looking into a whole range of industries that experience repair barriers. And around that same time, we had our first right to repair law, which is a consumer law passed in Australia, and it's all about mandating that global car manufacturers share their diagnostic information with our independent car mechanics to get access to that information. So most Australians have 2 or 3 cars, and so it's really made an impact. And our automotive industry is really helping us learn ways in which we can elevate repair with our politicians as well. Next slide, please. So this is where our repair cafes are located in Australia. As I said, we roughly have over 110, and it's fantastic to see some representatives here tonight. This map is available on our Australian Repair Network website, so you can zoom in and see, but you'll see most of them are centred around the urban areas. We do have one repair cafe operating right dead in the centre of Alice Springs, you can see, which is a very rural remote area, but a really large concentration in Victoria, with the most around 33, 35 repair cafes. The first repair cafe in Australia started in 2014 in Sydney, the Bower, and they've been operating for over 20 years, which is, and they're doing a lot of training and repair cafes, which is fabulous to see. Next slide, please. As with other countries, our repair cafes take many different forms and play many different roles. We have repair cafes, and we have a number of repair events in schools. We even have one in a kindergarten based on my university campus. We have repair labs known in Western Australia. We have a number of universities operating repair cafes with their staff and students. In my own university at Griffith University, I run repair cafes across 4 of our campuses with staff and students, and community repairers coming onto the campus as well, which is fantastic. And all of our repairers love to get involved in the broader community events such as sustainability days and environmental days, raising awareness of the benefits of repair, not only the social, environmental, but the economic benefits of repair. On the next slide, I think what was a useful exercise for us in Australia was to do a snapshot survey of our repair cafes. In late 2023, we conducted a national survey of our repair cafe conveners, committee members, but also the volunteers and helpers to give us a little bit of a picture of the insights into their experiences, what was happening on the ground, their opportunities, the challenges that were being experienced every week or month or every bi-monthly event that the volunteers were running. And on the next slide, given the focus of tonight's seminar, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the, if we go back a slide, Martin, about data collection. There's a lot of interest in Australia about collecting data. It's the same issue that Martin has raised about how challenging it is with the time pressures. Some people are doing it really well. They're a little bit more experienced. They try to have dedicated data officers. Everyone realizes the value and importance of collecting repair data. It's really important for us in Australia to show the impact of this activity with our federal government, state government, and local government, and they all want numbers, they want data. So most people realise that. The challenges that people are experiencing is really what data is best to collect. We get a lot of feedback around, you know, some of the measures. Some raw data is really useful for the larger electrical items or mechanical items, but for items such as clothing or jewelry, for example, a fine gold necklace or bracelet or ring, the weight isn't really a good measure given the material and also the kind of the small weight that's indicated. So this issue about paper versus digital, some are using iPads and smartphones, but many are still using paper forms and collecting data and adapting the different systems. We at the Australian Repair Network did run an online webinar for our community to discuss all these issues for them, and we were grateful to James and Ugo from the Restart project who came and joined us and talked about the different models of collection of data, different approaches and the benefits of that. I work with the federal, state and local governments around trying to elevate, you know, support for repair and build a repair economy in Australia. And this data collection exercise is really important. Just a final slide, in terms of where we are at the moment, we're having an online forum in 2 weeks' time in Australia to talk about some of these issues. We're holding annual repair summits. I've held a community repair event. As I said, it's really important to us that we highlight and elevate the activity that's happening on the grassroots level, because this really provides an opportunity to invite our ministers and our local members along to see what repair looks like. And as Martine said, it's really important, and it engages us with manufacturers and other parts, industries. In Australia, we're not just concentrating on consumer electronics and appliances. Our first right to repair legislation is to do with cars. We're working very closely on agricultural machinery right at this very moment, and also medical device and assistive technologies. So it's across a broad range of industries. Thank you very much.
Time for a couple of questions. I see Martine very sensibly muted me. But we've got a couple of opportunities for questions. Martine, do you want to start with a question to Leanne? We've got one in the Q&A, or I don't know.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Leanne for staying up so late to share your interesting points of view with us. It's really an addition to this these webinars to hear your perspective, really valuable. So thank you. And I hear that you were not quite well, so we're even more grateful to have you. And it's so interesting to hear that your right to repair starts with cars and agricultural machines, but that's a different focus than here in Europe.
Yes.
There's a question in here. Your map shows both blue and black markers. What's the difference?
So the map, some of them are active ones. Some of the black ones are ones that are temporarily on hold. For example, they may not be operating as frequently as they did. So it just gives a measure. If you click on the map and you can go in, you can actually see how regularly those repair cafes operate. And some may only operate every 2 months, or they may have actually stopped. We did have 130. But there have been a few that have closed, but new ones have opened up as well.
Given that you're in a sort of quite a unique position in the sense you've just come back from Europe and you've been to various repair cafes and events, what were the key things that you picked up perhaps that were slightly different that were going on in Europe compared to Australia, or maybe they were remarkably similar?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about really having a bit of a passport and being able to drop in on repair cafes all around Europe and the UK is to see how similar they are in terms of the feeling at the repair cafes and the kind of joy that's being experienced by both the repairers and the participants. I must admit, I was particularly impressed with the Welsh government support for repair cafes and also tool libraries through funding directly positions to support and elevate those. And similarly in Scotland, to see that they have a share and repair convener for Scotland. This is a model I've actually presented to our Queensland government here, because I think this is one way in which we can elevate and help our repair cafes if we can get some overarching support that can negotiate challenges around insurance, which is a big problem for some repair cafes in Australia, also availability of appropriate premises, but also to be able to elevate this data collection upscale it really. So I really like those models where government is actually putting money into, and I believe Denmark has a similar national convener, that we have a state or a national convener for the repair cafe network. We similar to the men's sheds. They're very strong and well funded here in Australia, and we like that model.
Yeah, I mean, in Wales, I think it's quite unusual in they're centrally government funded,
Yes.
rather than at a county or a regional level. So it you know, certainly it's become clear in the UK context that Wales is moving ahead of Scotland, which was ahead, and they're both several steps ahead of England, sadly. I think maybe we've got one other question. Are you contributing data to the Open Repair Alliance?
Look, our repair cafes, you will see probably about 2/3 of our repair cafes are members of Repair Cafe International. Not all of our repair cafes are. Some repair cafes use the Repair Monitor, some use the Open Repair Alliance, some are using their own systems. And so this is something that each time we talk about repair data and how people are doing it, it's interesting to find the different systems, and our discussions are around the benefits of trying to centralize it versus the challenges and inconveniences that some of the individual groups experience in doing that.
Maybe I could add a little on that, because the Repair Monitor data and the Fixometer data are all combined in the Open Repair Alliance dataset. So everyone who uses one of those systems will see their data in the Open Repair Alliance, and we'll be hearing more from that, more about that later.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, well, particularly with your jet lag, etc., Leanne, thank you very much indeed for staying up and battling through, and we hope you get better soon. So
Thank you.
Off to bed with a warm whiskey or something.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm trying to stop the screen share. Yeah. So Martine, I think you're back.
We're going to hear from Brigitte Sistig now. She's from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and she is not presenting live, but she's made a video, which I'm now going to share.
Hello and kia ora from Repair Network Aotearoa here in New Zealand, and thank you so much for inviting us to participate at the 4th European Repair Cafe Conference. My name is Brigitte Sistig, and I am going to give you a little snapshot of the repair movement here in Aotearoa. Now, when we are looking at our organization, our mission is to foster repair culture in our country. And we started this in 2020, of course, as you're aware, this was the time of COVID arriving on our shores. And so it was very difficult to set anything up and to also have, of course, meetings in person. However, Repair appeared to be very likable and also of interest, and people being passionate about it. And they also had some time to maybe fix something at home. So Repair Cafes really developed beautifully. And we were very fortunate to be able to be umbrellaed by the Zero Waste Network, and also other organizations in the waste industry supported us, which was really helpful. And naturally, we work together with our indigenous people, Maori, and in the Parakore, in the Zero Waste Network in the Maori world, and also align ourselves with Menshed and tool libraries and maker spaces. While we were developing Repair Cafes, we also realized that it was important to work with the repair education sector and also repair businesses and local and regional government, in particular with the community recycling centers. We also engaged in the Right to Repair movement, which I will talk a little bit later about. And of course, internationally, we were supported by Martine with the Repair Cafe International Foundation and other organizations as well. So just a little overview. These are our beautiful 2 islands and how the Repair Cafes are scattered across the islands. We started with about 15 Repair Cafes about 3.5 years ago, and we now have over 75 and growing. So how we like to operate is it's building relationship, whanaungatanga, that's called in Te Reo Māori. And where we come together, for example, every 2 months as Repair Cafe coordinators and share our experiences, successes, learnings, and resources. And this has proven to be very, very valuable. We also participate in festivals, meet with different demographics, different communities, and we have a presence on social media and also engage with the Recycling Week here. What appears to be important as well is actually research into Repair Cafes, because it gives it real validation. And we were fortunate enough to have a professor from a university here supporting us in exploring the motivation of volunteers to participate in Repair Cafes. So this is a beautiful article that summarizes their engagement. And there will be more research coming out shortly as well. Now, of course, like everyone else now in our beautiful community, we are also collecting data. We joined the Restarters, and as you can see, a high percentage, like 71% of items are repairable during Repair Cafe, which is extraordinary, really, with the passion and commitment of the repairers. And then say about 15% may require a spare part or a bit more time to be repaired. And about 11% are regarded as non-repairable, and they go to community recycling centers. So we did a little study and a report, and this was about for 37 Repair Cafes with 160 Repair Cafe events that qualified for this report. And in total, we prevented about 9,000 kgs to go to landfill. The majority of items presented at Repair Cafes are often textiles and also small appliances. So I think that's quite common. We did our first survey with regards to behavior change, like looking at people's motivation and also barriers to engage in repair. And so there's a high motivation to be able to repair things instead of throwing them away. But the problem here in New Zealand is that we do not have access to repair facilities. And this is something that we can look at and also possibly work together with councils more to develop maps of repair stations, repair cafes, and so forth. So this is in progress. Now, with regards to the right to repair, this is a relatively young movement here for Aotearoa. There was a group that worked together in 2019, and they also published a book chapter. So Repair Cafe Aotearoa started a petition in 2021, and which was delivered to the then Minister of the Environment in 2022, and subsequently also oral submission in 2023 with a lot of organizations supporting this presentation. Now, we now have the opportunity to actually introduce the Consumer Guarantees Right to Repair Amendment Bill to Parliament, and which has been pulled from the ballot and is presented by the Green Party. So this will be the first reading. That's very important in order for it to move to the Select Committee. So currently we are campaigning to encourage people to approach their local MP and discuss the bill with them, and encourage them to vote in favor of the bill so it can go to the Select Committee, will be there discussed and thoroughly examined, and hopefully open for some public submissions within that 6 months process as well. So currently we're also preparing the first Repair Festival here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This is really exciting because it brings together communities, businesses, schools, universities, libraries, advocacy groups, and government. So all aspects and all sectors actually come together, and we can join and enjoy repair from all different perspectives. And this will also give us some evidence, in our Right to Repair campaign as well. So in essence, now the repair movement in Aotearoa is now held by Repair Network Aotearoa, the Charitable Trust. And the different aspects that have evolved over the past few years are in sub-working groups. So we've got the repair cafes, the community grassroots group, and that's growing really strongly, moving into repair education with university papers and also into schools. Repair in government agencies, yes, very strong, and a lot of councils are extremely supportive and provide support for local repair cafes. Also libraries, that is quite popular now as well. Then engaging with businesses, businesses that are already producing repairable products, showcasing them, or supporting businesses that are on the journey of sustainability and supporting them in finding ways to introduce repair instead of, for example, replacement. And as I mentioned, Right to Repair movement is very important and supports the whole development of repair and accessibility of repair in the country. So yes, this is in summary what we can share with you of to date. We are very happy to be contacted and collaborate with you, answer any questions, which I'm not able to do in person today. But very happy to receive emails or any other messages that you would like to send. So once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you today. And I wish you a beautiful conference. Goodbye for now.
Okay. Thanks, Brigitte. That was a great video. Unfortunately, we can't do a Q&A because Brigitte is not actually on the call, but if you have any questions, you can reach her via the contact means that she provided in her last slide. So, and I'm sure she will be very happy to answer all your questions. Now, in the next hour, we're going to talk more about data collection. For we all know that this is an important issue. It's an important subject in the world of repair cafes for different reasons. The first one is, of course, that everyone in this movement knows that many things nowadays cannot be repaired properly and repeatedly. And as a movement, we argue for more repairable products, that we need them, and we need legislation to promote repair rather than hinder it. But if we want to convince all the parties concerned in this process, and that includes manufacturers, policymakers, and consumers, then we need data to prove that there is actually a problem with the products in our daily lives at this moment. And we need to know where these problems lie exactly. And that's why at Repair Cafe International, we have developed the Repair Monitor, which is a online tool for data collection at Repair Cafe sessions. And the monitor is one of the few ways which is currently available to gain insight into what happens to our products after warranty. And I'm now going to share my screen. Yeah. you're now looking at the repair monitor, and this is the monitor. We're logged onto my account. Everyone who wants to join the monitor can apply for an account, and we'll activate it and link it to your Repair Cafe, and then you can start collecting repair data. I'll walk you through the system. I'll show you how you can add a new repair, and after that I'll show you our dashboard where you can see the results of our combined data collection efforts. So if you want to add a new repair, you go to this page, Add New Repair, and there you can indicate the date of the repair. You can give it a reference number, and then you can start typing what kind of products you have. So maybe you have a vacuum cleaner. You can type vacuum and then choose it from the drop down. You can indicate the brand. Maybe this was a Siemens vacuum cleaner. You can indicate how old it is, an estimated year of production. Let's say that this one is from 2018. And you can give more information about the product, like a model, type number, or a serial number. And this one would have serial number. There it is in the drop down, so I pick that. And then you can describe the problem. So what the visitor told that the problem was. So maybe this vacuum cleaner has reduced suction power. You can indicate that. And then you move on to information about the repair. So you can say who the repairer was, who tackled the repair, and what the defect was that he or she found. Maybe there was a clot in the hose and the filter was full of dog hair. Unfortunately, this happens. Then you can say if the product was repaired. Well, if yes, you can say, what did you do? You removed the clot and you gave information on further maintenance, how to prevent this in the future. Then you can rate the repairability of the product. You can say if you found it easy or difficult. Now, this is of course not an objective score, but that's not a problem. We're just interested in your experience repairing this product. So in this case, you could say it was pretty easy. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Then you can say if you used repair information, maybe you found a repair manual online. Maybe it came from the manufacturer, or it was repair guide from iFixit. Then you can also indicate what the source is where you found the manual. And finally, you can give suggestions for other repairers of this similar product. So maybe you can say that you need this or that particular screwdriver, or the casing has been clicked together and you need to press in the middle to take it apart. Now, this is all information that you can give, and then you can complete the repair and it will end up in the system. Now, this way, we have already collected more than 100,000 repairs. And all this information about all these repairs is accessible via a dashboard that shows the current state of affairs at all times in 8 visualizations. So you can see the number of repairs, the participating repair cafes, most presented products, the overall success rate. You can see the most presented brands, and you can see most presented products per product category. So you can filter on display and sound equipment. You see that the most common product in that category is a radio, and that it was repaired successfully in 54% of the cases. So that's 8 graphs. The last one, the reasons for failure of repair, is also very interesting. For it's clear, this graph shows clearly that in many cases when a repair does not succeed, it has to do with spare parts. They're either not available at the repair session, or they're not available on the market, or they are too expensive. And those are very clear signs for policymakers, for manufacturers, and for activists who want to advocate for more sustainable, more repairable products. All these groups, all these people have access to the dashboard, and they can filter the data or download the entire data set for further analysis. And in this way, we provide evidence of what goes wrong with the products in our daily lives and what could be improved to make them better and easier to repair. And we also combine our data set with similar data sets from other community repair organizations to increase the impact that we can make together. And later on in this hour, we're going to hear from Ugo Valauri of the Open Repair Alliance, and he will tell us how these combined data are being used in the fight for the right to repair. And we'll also hear from Peter Mui of Fixit Clinics in the US, who also contributes data to this combined data set. But first, we're going to hear from 3 Repair Monitor participants in the Netherlands, in Germany, and in the UK. And the first one is Repair Café Capelle aan den IJssel. And that's no coincidence, because as you can see here on my screen, this is the Repair Café that entered the most repairs into the Repair Monitor. So let me quickly go to the results of their specific Repair Café. So I filter on the Netherlands and on Capelle aan den IJssel. Then we'll see they have entered more than 5,500 repairs. And this is where they are. They're the blue dot. They're in the Rotterdam area. And they do a lot of bicycle and coffee maker repairs. And they have a success rate of 68%, which is higher than the average percentage, which is 62. And I also think that this has to do with the fact that they do a lot of bicycle repairs. For, as you can see, they have 5 products in the bicycle category, 5 products where they have 100% repair score. So this pushes their overall success rate. And it's very interesting to look at the data this way. And I'm sure that Lina, after this, can say more about that. But now we already have some idea of Repair Café Capelle aan den IJssel. Let's now go to Lina Legerstee. She is a volunteer at this Repair Café, and she is also the one typing all the repairs into the monitor. And she'll tell us more about how they're doing. And I'll stop sharing my screen now. And maybe Martin, if you could start Lina's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Martin, introducing me in our cafe Capelle aan den IJssel near Rotterdam. Is it true that there are a lot of bicycles repaired? Maybe because there are a lot of people who bicycle to Rotterdam, who cycle to Rotterdam, and they need their bicycle to be repaired. To let it be repaired in a real shop, it's very expensive. There are a lot of flat tires, and they are not repaired really in a repair shop, because in a repair shop, in the real bicycle shop, they simply replace the tire. They don't really repair a flat tire, and that makes it very expensive if you bring your bicycle to a repair, to a cycle, to a shop where they sell bicycles. So we get all the people who just are just simply asking for repairing a flat tire. That is most of the people, and that is also then I think the reason why we have such a high rate. I am currently the president in Capelle aan de IJssel. We have a management of 4. And I myself, I am a host too, together with 2 other persons. And I do enter all the data in your monitor from which you made, I think. And where I also can see how many how much success we have with our repairing products. Coffee makers is something that is difficult at the moment because the machines are getting more complicated. From my repair volunteer technicians, I hear that it's more and more difficult because the spare parts are difficult to get or very expensive too. If you want to replace a brewer, it's easy 50 euros. And that's a lot of money for someone who just wants his, and then after that you're not sure if it will work, because that also is not always very certain. Our team, we have about 26 volunteers. They are from all kind of backgrounds, and some have a hobby to be very skilled and to open all machines, and they try everything with trial and error to repair. Then they get a lot of experience, because it's not really that they have a background from working in technical you would say shops but we do have for a television, we have an experienced person who is who was working at the IT center and repaired television. So there are some who have very good skills for repairing things, but the most of them just work and try to repair. They know how to open the machines, and then they measure just simply to see what is broken and if they can mend it. I don't really. I have a chart before me from the number of repairs. You can see we started in 2014, and then we have a dip through the COVID years, and then now there are more and more people finding our repair shop again, because in 2019 we had a very good rate, and now 23 it's getting better already. Sadly, our in the initiator we had was Cor van der Sluis. He was starting all this, but he passed away in COVID time because of COVID. And that's very sad for us, because he was very enthusiastic. He had good ideas, and we had to do, we now have to find out, in fact, everything anew. Maybe I can see the next chart. You can see the success rate was down in 21, a little bit lower, and now it gets better. And the next one. Bicycles, you can see, is a high percentage, and coffee makers. You can see everything is well, I don't know what else to say, in fact. Sorry. The number of visitors decreased, and now it is it's not really back on the level of 2019, but it's getting better all the time, every day. We are open, in fact, on two locations. One location is open every week in the afternoon from 2 to 5, and we have another location which is only open one time in a month on a Saturday, especially for people who work, and they can visit us and try to find to bring to us the coffee makers or the bicycle to get repaired with us. We have a system. People cannot leave their products with us because we rent a big room from the municipality. They support us financially, and they also give us the space to receive people with their broken products. But it's only once a week, so we have cupboards where we can leave material and our tools, but we do not have a place where we have all the time what is ours. It's only for an afternoon in the week, one day in the week, so we always have to get everything in the cupboards, and then the next week get everything out of the cupboards. The people who bring the products with us, they have to stay and to see how it is repaired, which sometimes is a nice social aspect too, because they get to know the repairers, and there's a social talk and drink a cup of coffee, and then it's very nice meeting. Okay, that's it. That's my story. Thank you, Martien.
Thank you, Lina. Thanks, Lina. That was very interesting. We now go on to Martin Weigelt, I think, from Germany, and afterwards we can have a Q&A, and if people want to ask questions to Lina, please save them for later. Then we can come back to that. Martin, welcome to the webinar.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. So nice to see you. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, I was very keen on hearing more from you because, well, we're talking about data collection, and in Germany, you are the repair cafe collecting the most data and entering most repairs into the repair monitor. And so you don't have a presentation prepared, but that's not a problem, because we're just going to have a chat about your repair cafe, about your data collection. So just to get an idea of Repair Cafe Rodenberg, where exactly are you in Germany?
Oh, do you know Germany a bit? It's in the north of Germany. Nearby, the next capital city is Hanover.
Okay.
So we are in the middle of the north.
Okay.
So Rodenberg is a small town of about 6,000 inhabitants in a landscape area. So we think that we have quite a lot of repairs due to the number of inhabitants of our village.
Yeah, 6,000 inhabitants.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing the Repair Cafe?
So we started our Repair Cafe in 2016, and up to now we have about more than 1,200 repairs. But we started using the repair monitor in 2019. There we have up to now nearly 700 repairs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll show my screen later on, and we can walk through your results a bit. But how many repairers do you have in your Repair Cafe?
We have a staff of 14 repairers.
And do you have any special skills?
No.
Do you do all kinds of repairs? Do you do
yeah,
textiles as well?
No, one of the repairers, all the repairers have a preferred repair item, and then one is a specialist for bicycles, and the other one on sewing machines. So it depends a little bit on their knowledge.
Yeah. Maybe we can filter your results. So I'll go to Germany. I'll go to Rodenberg. And there we can see indeed that you entered almost 700 repairs. And oh, we can see where you are.
Yes.
In North Germany, indeed. And your top product is the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, seems so.
Did you have that idea?
Pardon?
Does it sound familiar? Does it look familiar? Do you recognize this?
Oh, yes. We have everything to repair. Most seems so that vacuum cleaner is the most repaired item. Yes.
And can you tell me something about your most popular brands? I see that Bosch is your most popular brand.
Yeah. Yes, but I do not make any examinations on the brands. So it happens that Bosch is the most, yes, and because all the Germans buy Bosch parts.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, of course. And AEG is your top brand by success rate. So these are all interesting things that we can see from your monitor results. And you also said that you had a specialist for sewing machines.
Yes.
I can see that. Because you have the sewing machine is actually your most successful product.
Yeah. Seems to be a good guy.
Yeah, apparently. And you're also good with lamps. You have the table lamp and the floor lamp with high percentages.
Yes, we have no impact on what the visitors bring to us. So seems to be that lamps is a very high numbered item.
And I believe you're a lamp specialist yourself, aren't you?
Yes, maybe.
So do you have any specific tips for people when their lamp is broken?
No. This is the reason why we do not use the dashboard for examining or to make examinations to what is a fault, because each fault is different. We have there's no main fault, so.
No, that's absolutely true. Every repair is different, every solution is different. There's no one solution. This is also clear from the data actually. You have an unidentified failure as the most common reason for failure of repair. So you said you don't use the data for these kinds of things. What do you use the data for?
We use it only for marketing affairs, because we could show a large number of repairs. We can show our success rate, and could be sometimes interesting for our customers or for our
Mhm.
visitors. And I made a link on our web page to this dashboard, to this site.
I have
And
it here.
thank you. This is right. It's down here in the middle of
Yeah.
the page.
Ja, I see it. Unsere Reparaturstatistik können Sie hier einsehen. And then we go back to the
Yes, genau.
dashboard. Ja, auf Deutsch.
Then
Jan.
it shows that, right.
Yeah.
Mhm. So this
So-
gives evidence on our repair number and number of repairs and our success rate. And this could be quite interesting for customers or for visitors, sorry.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think you told me that you also showed this to a journalist.
Yes, right. Once upon a time, there was a journalist in our repair cafe during our normal opening times, and that day I had not time for him because he did not announce his coming, and I was a little bit surprised that he was there. And so as I had no time for him, I showed him the dashboard, and then he looked a while on it. And in the following days, we got a great success with a big article in our local newspaper. I can show it if you know.
Oh yeah, please do.
Oh,
Um,
it's not good to see, but it was a big article and gives us a little bit progress in the number of visitors.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah. And well, these kind of publicity, communication reasons can be, that's a good reason to use a monitor. And it's one of the possible uses of data, of course. So is there anything else you would like to tell us about your repair cafe?
Oh, no, actually not. No, thank you.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining the webinar and for sharing this. It's been really nice to see you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I wish you good luck monitoring your data and repairing lamps and sewing machines in Rodenberg, Germany. And I hope
Thank you.
to see you at the next webinars too.
Okay.
So I think we'll go back to Martin now, and I'll stop sharing my screen. And I'll stop talking. If, Martin, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. And can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll move across hopefully to John now. So, John, are you there?
Hi there, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Jolly good.
Okay, so over to you, John, and I'll move the slides on a next slide basis.
Okay, lovely. Thanks very much. Okay. Hi there, everyone. My name's John Pierce. I have been a repairer with the Farnham Repair Cafe for about 9 years since we started. I'm now a trustee. We've become a charity in the UK. And have always been very passionate about data. Probably something to do with I'm a professional engineer and have about 40 years experience in the realm of quality and reliability. So pretty well my professional working life's been working with failure and status information. So the data we have from Farnham Repair Cafe, I took a look at it before this, and since 2015 I know that I've attempted 180 repairs, which is, you know, I don't know, it's interesting. I've managed 118 successful repairs, and that includes 13 sewing machines, which has come up before. I probably not up with your with the German guy, because I wouldn't claim to be a specialist as anything. 7 toasters, 5 vacuum cleaners, 3 coffee makers, and I've repaired a cuckoo clock as well. So as you say, I rather like data. Yeah, this, can we go to the next slide then, Martin? So what I'm going to talk about now, no, stay
Okay.
on the intro, because what I'm going to talk about is some work I've done for the university in Farnham, which Martin is professor for, and it's looking at loading of legacy repair data into Repair Monitor. And it was because of an issue we were having in Farnham Repair Cafe, but realized that there are many other cafes, and looking at the chat, it seems this is an issue. It doesn't matter whether you're writing on paper forms or whether you're free form writing stuff into an iPad. A lot of repair cafes have data that's sat and hasn't been loaded into one of these larger tools, you know, the Open Repair Alliance, Repair Monitor. And so the object really was to look at how difficult that would be given a legacy data set. So in other words, you know, perhaps a few thousand items of data. Okay, should we move on then? Next slide, please, Martin. Okay, so I undertook a brief study about 3 months where we looked at Farnham Repair Cafe data. We looked at how we might get that into the Repair Monitor tool, which Martin's talked a little bit about. And essentially, it broke down into sort of three main parts. It was looking at correlation between the data fields. So if you have your own data set, unless you've used the Repair Monitor as the setup, it's likely there'll be a few little differences between them. A core part of the study, though, was around this pilot data load, because in the UK we have a saying that the devil is in the detail. And while you can sort of say, oh yeah, okay, this data field relates to that data field of another one, actually I never believed that. I guess probably stemming from 40 years experience of working with data. And it turned out to be true. There's an awful lot of what I've called challenges that may not be apparent from the first part. And the other sort of parts of this were engagement with people from other cafes. I've put Weybeth down there because they're particularly helpful, and a couple of data scientists who've helped me with this as well. Okay, next slide, please, Martin. So the easy bit, as I said, the easy bit of the work was say, oh, okay, let's see, can our data translate into Repair Monitor? And you know, initially on the face of it, it looked okay. But as I said, the devil is in the detail. And we perhaps go on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, hang on, before you do that, just to explain this slide. On the left-hand side, the left-hand column is the title of the repair data field within the Farnham's database, and on the right is the actual Repair Monitor data set. So although we have slightly different names and slightly different ways of recording stuff, actually there was quite a good translation across. So you know, a quick look would have said, oh, this is just quite an easy thing to do, and hence we come to the challenges, which is the next slide, please, Martin. And I want to just stress that these are nothing to do with being, we work in Farnham, we work from paper forms, but we then load that into an Excel spreadsheet. These challenges really are nothing to do with the fact that we write on paper forms. If you have free form entry, so in other words, someone is typing something into an iPad at an event, many of these things will still be true, or possible. They are possible mistakes to be made. If we take a look at the little decision chart on the left, there's 4 brand and kind of product in Repair Monitor. These use pull down lists, and this is far from straightforward to identify whether or not you've got. I mean, Martin showed typing the thing in, but the problem we had is that some of our descriptions are slightly different to the description within Repair Monitor, and therefore but there may be an entry in there in Repair Monitor that is applicable. And so you can't, you can just create new entries, but then Repair Monitor will become a morass of incoherent information. So it's really, really important that you only add a new brand or a new kind of product as a last resort. And actually, the last example on here, it gives a little example of the sort of problems you have there. If we go top right, figure 2, one of the other problems we had was I mentioned, we have this sort of relationship between the fields, but the problem is not everyone uses the form exactly as you think they will. And so we found a few instances in our data that you would need to split the information from one field, and it actually goes into 2 fields in Repair Monitor. That's not an easy thing at all to pull up. And then the last example here, and these are just 3 examples. There were about 5 or 6 real challenges, if you like, to a simple translation between the 2 data sets. And here we have the use of common terminology, and here we have a product field, which for example, someone has said, "Oh, a NutriBullet is a product," and actually it isn't. Not if using a formal taxonomy within the Repair Monitor tool. It's actually a blender, and then the model is a NutriBullet. So there we go. That gives you an idea of some of the challenges, but as I say, that's very, very, very brief and quite an overview. Okay, Martin, if we go on to the final slide then. So oh no, that's it. That's the one. So lots of UK cafes use the Repair Monitor tool. Guidance is named at these. It's rather those that have data sat in some other format, and whether or not loading it onto RM tool is the things you would need to look at. And these things I've called challenges. We've produced a study report, which it's very, very nearly finished. So that will be, I'm sure Martin will be able to make that available, because I've produced that for Martin and the university. So have a chat with Martin if you want to see this. But so this report holds a lot of the challenges. A lot of these challenges stem from freeform paper sheet, but as I said, it's not paper that's the problem, it's the freeform entry. And the other observation is that a lot of cafes are actually using paper, and we do, and it does suit a lot of people, I think, because of the complexity and the light touch nature of repair cafes. As I've said, the variety and at times complexity of these challenge means it's difficult to overcome by inspection. So this look at the data fields is not easy. You need to look in very great detail that you only come across when you're trying to load the data. Bulk upload, so taking one set of data and loading it into the RM tool. If that becomes practicable, it's not currently, because Repair Cafe International don't have the bandwidth to handle that sort of activity. If it does become practicable, then these challenges that are identified in this paper need to be resolved before you start loading the data in. Otherwise, you're just going to move a whole load of problems into the Repair Monitor tool. And an interesting observation and agreed by both the data scientists I spoke to was that the development of software tool is likely to require more effort than actually manually uploading the data. Now, I've manually uploaded, I started at a small set as a proof, but then carried that on to load 1,000 repairs into Repair Monitor manually. And the guidance is, well, that would be, that's probably taken less effort than trying to write a software tool that could handle all of the nuances and variations. One final point. There are probably a couple of observations in terms of things that could be improved. There's no standard classification. Martin mentioned this, I think, earlier, on defining repair activity. So is it successful, and what is a successful repair? Sometimes people are saying that guidance is a successful repair because the people would throw the item away otherwise, and actually all they've been shown is how to actually operate or maintain the item. And so if you are saving landfill, then yeah, that probably is a success. But it's something that could be looked at, you know, in wider, to try and get a slightly more consistent approach, if you like, across all of the repair cafes. And that's it really. As I say, the report, there's a report produced that I've put together, and that will be available, or at least I presume Martin will be able to make that available. Being a university, I'm sure it's Martin, you probably cut in here, but I presume this is for sort of the common good, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When we so thanks very much, John, for the showing the detail there and some of the realities of this. And yes, as you say, we are close to concluding this, and then we will share a link at some stage before the end of the month to the reports for others to just review, you know. And I think the main thing that I got from the exercise was it's the whole classic thing: garbage in, garbage out. Get your systems sorted out at the beginning. If you're setting up a repair cafe, that's the time, or you're very early stage into your repair cafe activities, it's much easier to then, you know, input the data directly. But if you're somebody like us and others who are nearly 100 sessions, despite us wanting to, you know, want to upload that data, it's a huge exercise and something for the future. But yeah, just to make the point clear, we will circulate the link to the report when it's available, and hopefully that will be useful, you know, guidance for people to think through some of, particularly the data cleaning issues that and you know, some of the issues that John sort of talked about. So I think now we're moving across to Ugo, and we have to get us in on time. We've got 10 minutes from Ugo and 10 minutes from Peter. So over to you, Ugo.
Hi, everyone. I hope my connectivity has improved from before. It's a pleasure to join you today. Next slide, Martin, please. Right. First, I wanted to just give a bit of a perspective on what's the journey of repair data. So we've seen data is collected at repair events around the world by groups that might be affiliated or part of very different networks. Then we combined the data, and when I say we, I say on behalf of the Open Repair Alliance. The Restart project has been doing a lot of this work, which it was very interesting to get John's presentation. And I noticed Monique Spaak, who's been working with the Restart project to help us combine the data sets. It's always a lot of work, even when the data isn't garbage, but there's still plenty that needs to be done in kind of combine the data sets and make them more seamlessly meaningful. Then the data gets shared openly. Then the data gets analyzed in various ways, and subsequently it gets used in policy and campaigning activities. And then we go back to collecting more data as well. Next slide, please. So what's really key, and it's been mentioned previously, the data gets collected by multiple systems. And we've seen in detail how the Repair Monitor works. I am from the Restart project, which created another tool called officially the Fixometer, although it's part of a platform called restarters.net. And there's other platforms. One question in the comments was, why are there so few German repair cafes? That's because most of the ones that collect data and share it openly, that happens via another platform yet run by Anstiftung, the main umbrella organization for repair cafes in Germany. Next. And the way we work, it's been mentioned, the Open Repair Alliance is a network created by Repair Cafe International, the Restart Project, iFixit and Fixit Clinic in the US, and Anstiftung in Germany, to really bring together all of our efforts and develop a standard that helps us collect all this data and share it openly, meaning with a Creative Commons share-alike license, which allows the data to be downloaded by anyone who is interested, and also analyzed further as long as it's still shared, any analysis is still shared with the same open license. You notice a few extra logos here because part of the work we've been doing is to actually combine further data sets that might not really be already captured by the systems I mentioned. So Repair Cafe Wales is one example. It has its own system and contributes the data so that we can sync it as part of the Open Repair Alliance dataset. The same is true for Repair Cafe Denmark. A few networks such as Aotearoa New Zealand contributes the data via the Restart platform. The same is true for Repair Together out of Belgium and others as well. Next. The last joint aggregation was published at the beginning of 2024, and it includes already 133,000 records. This is of repair attempts, specifically of small electrical and electronic products. The Alliance focuses specifically on these and doesn't include the data that is indeed collected by all of the platforms on other products such as clothing and bikes or furniture and beyond. And that's because we try to combine this data set and connecting policy opportunities specifically linked to anything to do with legislation on eco-design or waste and electronics specifically. And you'll see from these slides that there's a wide range of platforms. It's a bit small, apologies, but the biggest contributor with 51,000 records is Repair Cafe International, followed by the Restart Project's own Restarters platform with 47,000, and a German platform 15,000, etc., etc. But what matters is like 873 groups around 30 countries in the world contribute data, and we have data from over 13,000 events so far. Next. And one of the key points is that we have a very wide range of product categories that are covered by the standard, and you see a very long tail of products. And going back to a remark by Martin at the beginning, indeed, it's great that we now have a right to repair directive for consumer rights around products repairs. But one of the things that's not sufficiently highlighted globally is that the vast majority of product categories that we see at repair cafes and restart parties, Fixit clinics, are not covered by this directive, particularly the products that are not covered by a legal guarantee. Only very few categories that are already covered by design legislation are covered in terms of consumer rights. For all others, we still have plenty to fight if we want an extension of right to repair legislation in Europe. Next. I'd like to give two examples of the type of things we can do. Here, these two infographics are about the range of product fault types experienced in tablets and in printers, based on analysis of the data done in citizen science, meaning involving a lot of the volunteers from repair groups across Europe and beyond. And we used the tablet one as part of a submission that we did as part of the European Right to Repair campaign coalition at a time when the eco-design legislation discussing the future of design for smartphones and tablets was being debated. And one small fact, but telling, that I wanted to share is you'll see there that USB charging port failure accounts for 8% of all faults seen at repair events. Well, when we were debating this, I was at one point in an eco-design consultation forum where the representatives of manufacturers were trying to convince the European Commission that actually charging ports didn't need to be provided as spare parts because it's very infrequent that these break. So clearly we had data that backs it up to say that indeed it's actually quite common. It's probably the third most common failure that we've seen at repair events globally. So clearly we do need availability for these parts. When you move to printers, you see similar things, and the printer legislation is indeed currently in development, painstakingly slow in progress, but we were pushing to remove the barriers that we see. This slide, thanks, shows the range of faults that are, the range of reasons for not being able to complete a repair, and the price for spare parts, as well as particularly the lack of availability of spare parts and products designed without any sufficient way to take them apart without breaking them further, are clearly like the key problems.
You muted yourself. You muted Ugo.
Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Apologies. We use all of this as part of a range of consultations that the European Commission runs as part of the policy development approaches. And it's a lot going on, and we continue pushing. And if anyone is interested, you can follow the progress at repair.eu. Next. I wanted to share one very recent, interesting, very positive development. Last week, the Joint Research Center of the European Commission presented a large paper that they're working on to try and find a way forward for establishing for what products it's worth creating a repairability scoring system. So in future legislation, you might see products that have a score from A to F that shows how repairable these products are. And it was quite positive to see that our data from the Open Repair Alliance features prominently as one of the key sources of data that exists for any policymaker looking at whether products are indeed failing frequently, whether they are repaired or not repaired at the moment. So it's great that this effort that involves all of you in this call, fixing things in your communities and contributing data, helping us make the case as strong as possible to push for much more broader regulation that really makes future products more repairable. Next, and I guess it's finished. No. Okay, the last thing I wanted to say, that the data gets downloaded by many types of stakeholders, and that's the beauty of open data. So we've seen journalists, policymakers, manufacturers, and others, including repair businesses, operators, and others that look at what are the opportunities out there. So it's really encouraging to see this data set evolve and become bigger as it creates more opportunities to influence the future of repair in multiple ways. Not to mention the many academics and students that use it to learn how to best use open data. Next. Well, thank you very much, and looking forward for your questions.
Great. I think we seem to have 21 questions ready for all the speakers in about 10 minutes or so. I'd just like to add one quick comment on top of what Ugo is saying. It's, of course, one of the big shifts going on in Brussels at the moment is to shift much more broadly across all sorts of different categories, where repair, reuse, circular design is coming in across all sorts of different products, notably, you know, now textiles and clothing coming in as a really, as a sector that's never really, in a sense, been regulated, but it's facing a lot of new policy changes going on. So the product categories are broadening and will broaden over the next 5 to 10 years. But this is, you know, excellent data around, you know, EEE products. But now I think we're going to hear from the US and from Peter. Are you there, Peter?
Yes, I'm here and ready to rock.
Okay. Oh, oops.
So thank you. You know, I describe Fix-It Clinic as this hobby of mine that's gotten way out of control. And so in preparing this presentation, Martine asked me to provide the big picture of the current status of repairing in the US as a context for how and why Fix-It Clinic collects repair data and how we plan to use it. Next slide. Well, here in the United States, we have looked enviously at Europe for years and years, at all the great things your government and the EU do to support repair, and by extension, the environment. In the last couple of years, something's changed in the United States. So we now have 5 states, California, Colorado, Minnesota, New York, and Oregon, that have passed right to repair laws. I mean, and by population, that means close to 25% of the US population will be covered under some sort of right to repair law very soon. Next slide. And it's gotten up to the federal level where there's now this link between repair and our competitiveness. So there's this idea at the White House Council of Economic Advisors that perhaps we have ceded too much power to the large multinational corporations through intellectual property, trademark, and copyright law. And what that means is that it stifles competition and innovation, that small and medium-sized business is the engine of innovation, not just for the US economy, for any economy. And that ability to tinker, that ability to repair and interrogate what you own has stifled the competition and innovation. And so this idea that repair is critical to a robust and resilient economy. So something's changed in the zeitgeist. Repair has moved mainstream. Next slide. So I'm going to tie that into this idea that we may be on the cusp of a new manufacturing paradigm that's digitally enabled. So, you know, this is an example. These are examples of generative design, where you put in the constraints to the computer and the computer decides what the thing should look like, given the parameters that you put in. So those new rims for the re-envisioned VW microbus, or the rear suspension for the motorcycle on the right, those designs for those parts were computer designed. Next slide. And add to that everything now can have a digital twin online. So we can have all the different specifications, all the different components for something available at our fingertips to send to any sort of manufacturing capability around the world. And so that's the idea that we're on the cusp of this idea where, next slide. A sophisticated item like that circuit board on the left, which right now is manufactured in some far off factory on the right-hand side, could now be manufactured maybe in our local area. Next slide. And so capability that used to be the purview of large multinational corporations and defense industry contractors, that kind of manufacturing capability, there's a democratization of that that's going on now. So that capability that used to cost, that required machinery that would cost millions of dollars, now requires machinery that costs thousands of dollars and may soon be hundreds of dollars. And so that means that we can start to envision a new type of an economy, which might be hyper-local, where most of what we consume is designed, built, serviced, and maintained in a local service area using locally available tools, materials, processes, and services. And so if we're ever going to make it to a circular, sustainable economy, more and more of what we consume, more of our durable goods, have to be manufactured in a local area, have to be regionally manufactured. Next slide. And one of Fix-A-Clinic's initiatives is to basically encourage the next generation of practitioners, of designers and engineers, to design for durability, maintainability, serviceability, repairability, alongside teaching design for manufacturing. That's going to be critical for the circular coming economy. We also are working right now on an open source design challenge for universities. Let's take something that's non-threatening to the manufacturers, like a toaster or a blender or a food processor, and say, how much of this can we source regionally now? Whether that's in Northern California or the EU, I'm not sure how big the regions are. And then long-term to say, okay, over time, how could we redesign this so more and more of it could be sourced locally? Next slide. All right, so Fix-A-Clinic is really on the far end of the spectrum in terms of community repair events. We really want to empower our participants to participate materially in affecting their own repair. I tell our Fix-It coaches, act like you're a doctor on grand rounds in a hospital. Move lightly from item to item, but really put the onus, the burden of a successful repair on the participant. They have to drive that process in our process, and that drives the way we collect data. So that's why I'm bringing it up. So I'd say in an ideal Fix-It-Clinic that the role of participant and Fix-It coach blur, and everyone's just helping everybody else out. It's really about neighbors helping neighbors at this point. And trying to encourage that is the biggest thing. Everything, all of our marketing tries to have people self-select into that kind of a process. Next slide. And we're really about pushing these skills to the next generation because they're the ones who are inheriting the planet. And they can do this. I mean, we have taught fourth graders how to disassemble laptops. Next slide. Oh, we love it when fixing families show up. Okay, next slide. I deleted this from my presentation. Well, we've also learned that we can effectively repair things totally hands-off via Zoom. So we ran these intergalactic Zoom Fix-A-Clinics during the pandemic. Many of you participated. Brigitte from New Zealand did. It was really amazing. And we validated the hypothesis that we could repair things remotely, that, you know, sufficiently motivated people are able to fix, even if you don't have an in-person event. Next slide. So after the pandemic, we migrated to Discord. For those of you who don't know, Discord is a gamers platform, but we have a server there dedicated to repair and to supporting repairers around the planet. So right now we have 750 repairers from around the planet on there, and all of you on this Zoom are welcome to join. Contact me, or I'll try to put the contact link in the Zoom on how to join Discord. It's just been amazing. If nothing else, use it as a resource to help your local repair events. Okay, if you find something at one of your local repair events that doesn't work right, or you can't fix it, like, come to Discord, and it's possible somebody else on the planet has seen that same issue. It also supports synchronous and asynchronous repair, so you don't have to fix it that day. All right, now we have this multi-touch type of mechanism where anybody on the planet or any repair going on, it's not about when the event ends, that's it, you're out of luck. You can continue to repair something, an item, ongoing through a mechanism like this. Okay, next slide. And this is just an example of high schoolers repairing a stand mixer for their local community food bank. I never met these high schoolers in person. They did it totally remotely. Next slide. Just to give you examples of where we've been around the planet, from the upper left to the lower right: Northern New Mexico, Palestine, Scotland, Paris, France, Berkeley, California, Belmont, Massachusetts, London, England, and Melbourne, Australia. Next slide. Okay, so what are we going to do with this data? Well, when France came out with their repairability index, it's manufacturer reported. The manufacturer on that card at the item at the point of sale says, well, our repairability index is 9.5. And the hope is that the data that we're collecting would be real field data from real consumers that would eventually be able to say, well, actually, their repairability index is closer to a 2.3. Next slide. In the United States, we're lucky in some ways that we have this whole situation where there are other regulatory agencies. So a long time ago, the Federal Trade Commission put out this energy guide to let people, when they were buying appliances, know how much energy on average the item would consume during a calendar year. And they also have the authority now to add repairability data to say, how repairable is this item? What will be the lifetime cost of owning this item if you buy it? And so we're lobbying them to add that to this guide, or maybe put a separate guide on appliances. So this would be very similar to the France's repairability index, or to the repairability scoring system that Ugo mentioned earlier for the EU. Next slide. Okay, so we have two forms that make this whole thing go. There's a registration form, and on the registration form, I ask for make and model and what's wrong with it. And then this question, what have you tried to fix it? And this is all about engaging the item owner with being materially participating in their own repair. We're trying to get them to think about, to apply critical thinking and troubleshooting skills from the beginning, not just say, it's broken, let me bring it to the community repair event. We're actually saying, what have you tried to fix it? And I don't have the data, but I suspect a lot of people abandon the form because they go in and they figure out for themselves how to make it work. And I think we should count that as a success, whether it gets into the system or not. Next slide. And then on the back end, we have this is the part that we've been talking about today, okay? We have this back end form where we ask people very similar questions, make and model what was or is wrong with it, like in case we haven't been able to fix it yet. And then what did you do to try to fix it? So that's helping us to get that data from participants. And this data is compliant with the Open Repair Alliance's Open Repair Data Standard, and it feeds into that data set. Next slide. Because we need to remember why we're doing this, okay? So that whether you're 16 years old or 60 years old, not only should you be able to repair your own stuff, but it should be easy to do it. Next slide. I mean, if you look at her, she's empowered, she's determined, she's fearless. She's all the things we want for ourselves and our shared future. Thank you. I'm done.
Thanks, Peter. Right, I think we're now going to be able to move into sort of overall Q&A, and I can start pulling down some questions for the different people, different speakers to chip in. Is that okay with you, Martin? That we can just do it that way? So first question: does anyone repair the time it takes? I suppose that means supposed to be, does anyone record the time it takes to repair each item? We have some repairs that take a long time, e.g. laptops, and therefore have less repairs. Just so recording the time of repairs. Anybody doing that?
Martin?
Yeah.
It's John.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? This came up at the conference, the UK conference.
Yeah.
I put a response into this. Tunbridge Wells record it in the UK. From my background, I would be very cautious about what you're actually recording there, because when you're doing repairs, there's a whole way of looking at things. And I mean, some of our repairs take days, but that's because you take it away. So what period of time are you doing? Are you recording the active time? Are you recording thinking time? There's a whole range of components to a repair. But it probably is getting it's not a bad idea to get some indication on it. But anyway, so Milton Keynes not Milton Keynes, Tunbridge Wells are doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
my views. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure of the value of it, but there you go.
Just a quick observation from our side. We have at least one of our repairers who will will look at repairs very quickly and diagnose in his mind how long it will take. And so he will look at it for 5 minutes, and if it's going to take a long time, he will take it home and go on to the next one. So I think, yeah, and I guess what I've also seen is with some of the online models, they're allocating like 20-minute sections to repairs. I don't know really how that works, because of course a lot of repairs will take a lot more than 20 minutes. So, you know, that sort of tough structure, it won't align with all repair activity, maybe. So next question here is, this is going to be quick fire, I think. Whoever wants to grab it, please go for it. How easy is it to export data from repair monitoring to reports for grant applications and charity submissions? Can the information be exported into programs such as Word, as Microsoft Word?
Maybe I can answer that.
Sure.
Well, you can download it and it will be a CSV file, or you can make a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. And I don't think it's very useful downloading it into Word, because it's much better to have it in a spreadsheet. But it's on the dashboard page of Repair Monitor, so that's dashboard.repairmonitor.org. There's a download button and you can download the entire data set.
Great. There's another question comment here, you know, along the lines of what we were just talking about. We find many items take a lot longer than 30 minutes. How do you deal with that? So again, it goes back down to every repair cafe is different. There are common sets of issues. Some will perhaps look to repair everything in a session. Others will identify and maybe take things home. That, I mean, that's for us, that's normal within furniture, for example. But yeah, not all items will take 30 minutes or less. Absolutely. Do we have statistics on the number of co-workers on average in a repair cafe in total and per session or edition? Frequency of editions of repair cafes, you know, number per month on average, average duration, number of repairs. So at least from our global research we've done, most repair cafes are monthly, but there are some different models around the world. And Martine, please jump in with more detail on this. We had come across ones in Palo Alto in the early days, which were like large quarterly events. So they were huge events, but they only ran it quarterly.
Yeah, they had hundreds of repairers.
Yeah,
really impressive to see. But it really depends. There are small repair cafes, there are big repair cafes. I always, well, from past experience, I always think that there are approximately on average 15 repairers per repair cafe, 1 session per month, and approximately 27 repairs done on average, of which 18 are successful. But that's just an estimate. It's not actual data.
I mean, that would align with our global surveys, 15 to 20. Yeah. Some have claimed they have like 100 repairers. I mean, it stretches from 5 to 100. You know, it's quite a range.
But we also see that many repair cafes are very well visited these days, and they are becoming busier. So they get more and more visitors, and some here in the Netherlands do 80 to 100 repairs per session, and some are thinking of scaling up, of doing 2 sessions per month or going to a weekly basis to cover all the repairs that are being brought. So we definitely see that this is a growing movement.
There's a question from Toronto about within their repair cafe, they have sewing repairs. And we had a chat about that, Martine. Yeah, no, I mean, certainly there, I mean, my observation is that some specialize. So some are more electronics and electrical, don't do sewing. There are some like that. There's some that maybe start with bikes and expand into other categories, but certainly most of the ones we're aware of in our UK network do sewing. Yeah, they'll do clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and some in the Netherlands don't, like Capelle aan den IJssel. They don't do textile repairs, I think, but I would suspect that they would do sewing machine repairs because they do, well, household appliances.
So there's a point of clarification from Herbert. RCIF is the Repair Cafe International Foundation, and FRC is Farnham Repair Cafe. Where can I see the statistics used in this webinar? Well, we've got the Repair Monitor, but we'll be sharing the link to the webinar after the event, so any attendees and the 100 or so who signed up but didn't attend, who I assume are going to be listening to the webinar, can listen to that as well. So there's still some more questions flying in. The chat room is very active, which is super great. Wonder if we have an online community where we can keep the conversation going. Discord, Facebook group, or Slack. Discord is very good free online community. Well, I heard that from Ugo. As at this moment in time, I guess there isn't a sort of broader network as such that covers all product categories, and particularly the particularities of repair cafes, which is also the community and the social dimension. So there isn't anything specific. I'm aware there's some quite specific things on electronic, but within the broader church, I don't think there is anything. But
did you mean like as a network to discuss all of these things in more detail?
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay. Well, certainly we do talk about these issues of data as part of the forum, as part of restarters.net, which you can find at talk.restarters.net. And it includes, some are much more active and some are much less active, but representatives of over 800 repair cafe groups from around the world. But it doesn't mean that everything gets discussed, obviously. It depends.
And also, I imagine, there's quite a sort of majority is around the electrical and perhaps not so much into the other side of it because of your expertise area. So I think, so it looks like Monique's link in the chat may be realized. I don't know what that means. Thanks to Monique. This thing my colleague needs something quite specific there. In Toronto, there is a monthly repair cafe. Okay, fine. Another monthly repair cafe. Right. Sorry, I've found one simple combination of answers that's useful. Not fixed. Could not be open. That triggers. Sorry, I'm not quite clear what that means. No, we can't show the questions within the Q&A. The good news was there's been an innovation within Zoom that you can show questions in meetings like this rather than webinars. So that's the first step. But the Q&A comes to the co-host, the host. So we can't reconfigure Zoom, unfortunately. General question for organisers: would it be possible to gather some of the useful information that people are sharing on the chat? We'll share the chat and we will share the link to the webinar. Can new categories be added to the right? So this is probably one specifically for you, Martin. Can new categories be added to the repair monitor for specific repair cafes? An important data point we collect from the neighbourhood, from which neighbourhood people are from, which might not be useful data globally important for local working. So something quite specific.
That's quite specific. And
Yeah.
What I read from this is that well, people like the repair monitor to be an entire registration system to do the administration of the repair cafe. That's not what the repair monitor was built for, but we are looking at improvements of the repair monitor, because we also notice that more repair cafes are working with time slots and with online registration, where they ask people to give some information about the product or about the things that they're bringing and what's wrong with it. And it's certainly, it would be logical if you wouldn't have to type that information, which is already in a computer, once again into another computer for the repair monitor. So we're looking at making the repair monitor, well, more modern and more adapted to this way of registering visitors for your repair cafe. And also, maybe we're going to add an option so that you can upload some of the information to the repair monitor and leave the personal information that you collected for your visitors out, and only transfer the information which is actually related to a product to the monitor. But for this, we need to build the repair monitor up again, and we're going to do that. But at this moment, we're in the phase where we're trying to figure out what has priority and what's most useful for the largest group of participants. But be assured that we are looking into it, to improving the monitor, making it more user-friendly and adapted to, well, more online use during the sessions.
What we found in the UK event recently is quite a number of the repair cafes were collecting postcode data to track the visitors, and finding that quite a significant proportion was based in the radius of the actual town. So that was something that we'd observed. What fault information is available from manufacturers as they are collecting similar information while processing warranty claims? Well, a couple of points on that one, and then please others chip in on this. A lot of the products that will come into repair cafes are outside of warranty, and that was one of the early one of the challenges coming back from manufacturers about why they didn't like repair cafes originally. And I certainly, the early days, there was quite a lot of negativity by some of the big transnationals about repair cafes, is that, of course, you own your product. And when it's outside of warranty, you're outside of the manufacturer's control. So you can do whatever you want, in reasonable within reasonable elements with your product. And that's part of the problem for the manufacturers now. They generally sell the products into the chain, and they don't have the use and post-use phase data. So this is why the repair cafes are sitting on a tremendous amount of powerful data, because the manufacturers don't have that data. And they don't have control of that data. So this is why the data is increasingly important. I don't know, Martine, other comments from yourself?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Manufacturers don't have an idea what happens to their products once they're out of warranty. And this makes our data collection so special, because community repair events see products after warranty, and we know what really happens to these products. And that's very, very valuable information. I see that Peter Mui would like to comment. You raised your hand.
The manufacturers no longer have this data because the manufacturers are no longer manufacturers. They're brands. And what they do is they go to a contract manufacturer in Asia and say, we want to have a toaster oven that retails in the EU for 100 euros. Can you manufacture it for us for 8 euros in the box with instructions, packed in a shipping container, delivery to the shipping port for for €8. So they don't have any sense of what their
No,
products actually.
But I think what we're
Mm.
talking about here is the post-use phase. So when they come into the clinic or the repair cafe, it's that use phase data that they do not have. They, as you say, you've got the Taiwanese third-party contract manufacturers and the others in Taiwan and other places that are really, you know, producing a vast number of the laptops, etc., etc. So as you say, they're brands, they don't have control of that, and they don't have, you know, control. Products are sold into the chain. You know, they don't control that. They're sold into the retailers or online. You know, so the manufacturers, it's actually going back to sort of business 101. They really don't understand a lot about their buyer behavior. They really don't actually understand what their customers are doing with them once they've bought it and how they're using it. So this again is, you know, as Martin was saying, you know, where repair cafes and equivalents have such a powerful position in terms of the reality and how this data is now going to be much more important.
If I may add that this is an important point that we want to really make this case. We need more detailed information. And we now see that although, well, people contribute data, it's often very, very limited information. They only tend to say that it's a toaster by this or that brand and it was broken and then it was repaired. But what we really need is the specific information about what did you repair, what did you do, how and why could you not repair it, and what advice did you give. So if I would like to stimulate the participants of the repair monitor and also the other monitoring systems to provide as detailed information as possible, because that's what really makes it valuable. That's what gives us a position towards manufacturers. Hugo, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add that, I mean, it's not completely fair to say that the manufacturers don't have the information. I mean, I think they have plenty of information about the spare parts that they still distribute, whether they are actually selling them or not. What matters is that we provide a completely independent source of information that is also based on real case of real people using products in a wide variety of ways. Often you see data used, that policymakers can access, and they often come from specific study of B2B, so business to business use of, 1,000 laptops in the same huge office block, and these are the main faults. But this is not real. I mean, sure, it might be real, but it's not realistic in the context of how things are used. So our data is substantially more interesting. And so, yes, let's try to make it as good as possible and highlight that the openness, I mean, we are so bold, we are giving access of that data to all the manufacturers. They are not giving access to us of the data they have. I wonder why.
So I think there's another couple of questions to go into some of the other interesting areas here. So we've got about 5 or so minutes left. So there's an interesting point here from Denmark saying that one of their 120 repair cafes would not do registration, and they've excluded them. So that's quite interesting. That's be interesting to know why they decided they didn't want to register people. You know, maybe there's some concerns over GDPR or something. We have many elderly with dexterity problems or people that don't want to take part in a repair. How do you address this? So we've actually recently had to deal with this issue. We had a very elderly guy that came in, very motivated. He'd obviously just moved into the area, maybe in his 80s, with his 6-year-old son, 60 or 55-year-old son, and what became very clear over time is we We essentially partnered it up with one of the repairers, but really his skill set and his vision was not so good. But we still wanted to find a way of keeping him involved. So we've really just aligned him to much simpler mechanical tasks because his skill was, you know, in the mechanical area. We've had other examples. This cropped up in our local network as well. And then, you know, that particular, you know, elderly, again, gentleman was placed on pack testing. But we know in our repair cafe, we've got somebody who is very hot on the pack testing process, and they're very careful about that. So I think it's a real issue. We've seen it. We've seen also, for whatever reason, some of our elderly repairers, they just don't really even like to fill in the repair forms, so somebody else has to fill them in. It's maybe because of, you know, elderly type issues. I don't know. You know, I haven't asked him, you know, a basic question. Can you write? You know, I don't know. But there could be those real issues that, you know, you don't necessarily think of. So there was a question here. What about safety when kids or elderly people repair devices? You know, any points on that? Again, just to fill the gap there. I mean, we have it's a bit of an issue, I think, for the whole Repair Cafe movement a little bit. You know, how do we engage more young people in this? You know, but the challenges of safeguarding, at least in the UK, you know, if you're doing it within the Repair Cafe rather than in a school or within another environment, you know, particularly for us, we made a decision that we would take on board young people, that they have to come with family members because of just the restrictions. So, and then if we find a young person is good enough, and we have a couple who are good enough, they then have to adhere to the health and safety and everything else like everybody else. So we treat them exactly as we would, you know, we treat the 16-year-old exactly the same as a 70-year-old. So everybody has to comply to the same processes. And you know, what we found, particularly with one of these young guys, just amazing skills, self-taught. He's probably going to know more than his professors when he gets to university, maybe in repair, possibly. Interested that repairers take things to repair in their own workshop. Does this affect insurance? So again, I can just talk from our point of view very quickly, and others, please chip in. We are covered within our insurance policies of people taking it home to their own workshops. Some people take stuff back to their own workshops, some don't from our experience. I don't know about other countries, you know, what the insurance, what's the insurance process on that in Netherlands, Martine? Is there anything, is it an issue at all?
Sorry, you were talking about insurance?
So the issue is if people take products back to their own workshops.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I don't know really.
Yeah,
that is very specific.
it's quite a big it's quite a big issue. It's
I think actually,
yeah,
when someone takes an item home, they're responsible for that themselves, so they should be covered by their own insurance. And it's no longer well, but I couldn't say anything specific about this.
I mean, from us, because we checked it out with our insurers, because it became more and more of a bubbling up issue across various repair. We are covered within our insurance policy on repairers taking it home. That may be because we've not transgressed the, you know, the risk issues. We've got a good track record, you know. What we're starting to see, at least in one recent instance, was the insurers asking a lot more detailed questions, particularly of startups, to make sure they've got due diligence, processes in place before they would even allocate the insurance. So, but again, what we've seen in the UK is lack of a consistent policy and strategy across the insurance companies. And that's equally true even within the same groups of insurance companies. They don't, you know, it's still evolving.
Well, one thing I wanted to add on this is that with the kind of advice we've given to groups asking about this, we've often suggested to be very cautious, also particularly when products are electric or electronics that might contain personal data. I mean, there's issues there where the idea of these gatherings is indeed like the joint learning experience. And so anything that goes beyond, you know, it's hard to then disassociate the group with the volunteer in terms of whose responsibility it will be to retain completely secure as well as safe. And no comment on the insurance because, yeah, indeed, as you say, it's extremely complicated and different standards even across the same countries.
Yeah, I mean, but as I say, with our insurers, I mean, what we've learned with our insurers, as long as you are clear with information and you've got good solid processes in place, you know, and for example, we've got health and safety policies, we've got safeguarding, etc., etc., etc. As long as we're clear with them, you know, about what we're doing, you know, they're surprising, you know, on one level, they've been okay with us, but the same insurance company has been very difficult with some other repair cafes. It's sort of interesting. I think we got maybe just one or two quick questions left here. Yeah, so slides will be available. No GDPRs. We could not convince them that it wasn't pure bureaucracy. Not sure. Okay. All right. So, sorry, there's the Danish example. That particular repair cafe just saw it as another layer of bureaucracy, and they wanted it free and loose. Let's call it. Perhaps they don't want to use forms. They don't, you know, and that's sort of a little bit where it started in the early days. But I think that's sort of quite interesting. Maybe they're more on the sort of campaigning side or whatever. But I think we're about on time there. I don't know, Martin, if you wanted to make any final comments to conclude, just for everybody's Friday evenings, you know, late afternoons or early into the morning in Australia or whatever time it is in US now. So, but over to you, Martin, to just conclude.
Yeah, well, I would like to thank all the speakers for their contributions and the interesting points of view from all over the world. It's been really great to hear from all of you, and thank you for joining. And the same for the participants. Thank you for taking the time to join this webinar. And I think we've exchanged some valuable points, and I hope we can do this again in the future, and we'll cover different topics, and hope that we'll be seeing you too then. And I wish you good evening or a good day and a good weekend. Well, thanks everyone.